Okay, hello everybody. I hope you're all well. So, doing a bit of research into all these young lads that Phillip Schofield seems to have latched onto in one way or another. There's a guy called Dan Barrett. Now, I found this article from 2017, so we're going back 6 years. And remember, at this point, Phillip was living his lie. So he was Snapchatting with young lads, and on the surface, to the parents of these young lads, he was a happily married man. He wasn't gay. So we need that context that now we know what we know. It's quite nefarious. So we'll go on. Dan Barrett makes a video with This Morning presenters Phillip Schofield and Holly Willoughby. This is the 18th of October 2017. A gay student with autism has created an inspiring video with the help of This Morning presenters Phillip and Holly. He was 18 at the time. He was diagnosed with ASD when he was 11. He decided to make the video just a few months after coming out as gay earlier in the year. So he's met Filthy Phil, as you can see here. There we go, doing selfies together. Dan Barrett with Phillip Schofield. It's sickening. It really is sickening. As you can see, the website's not great. The Mid-Kent College student wrote to This Morning presenters Holly and Phil, and they agreed to front the documentary. You don't often see LGBT and autism put together, but it's something quite common, said Dan. I wanted to make something different and help people. In the video, Holly says, research shows out of all the people who identify as LGBT, many are on the autistic spectrum. Phil added, coming out as gay and bisexual is more challenging with learning difficulties like autism. So let's see what it's like from Dan's point of view. This is just sickening. And again, the context that we know now after what has happened this year and in 2020 as well when he came out. And he just seems to be latching on. Or the thing is, these young lads, we only see them getting in contact with him. But why are they so drawn to him? To get in contact with him, like that Ethan dude, you know, he's like super fan. I know why, because Phillip is hanging around on these social medias like Snapchat for young kids. That's why, and they latch onto him. But anyway, clearly this boy's got a crush on him. I think it's obvious. That it goes on. There are 700,000 people in Britain with autism who face the challenges and discrimination of being LGBT. Okay. Talking about his past, Dan said, I found it really hard to make friends. I felt awkward and was alienated. Autism is hard. Dan came out as gay 7 months ago, and now his life is completely different. To tell someone that you're gay is hard enough. It's a lot harder with autism. So, but now his life's changed for the better. So there he was at 18. And then he goes on about he didn't want to have to hide anything in his video. If you're in a wheelchair, you're still human. If you're gay, lesbian, trans, whatever, you know, all this pride stuff. Just reading on, he's talking about how he's proud and blah, blah, blah. So I did a little bit of digging. So once I seen this article, I started digging around into this guy and Phillip Schofield. Now, what this lad does in his own time, I don't care, all right? I don't care whether you're gay, bi, trans, hetero. As long as you leave the kids alone and animals alone, I don't really give a shit what people do with their own time. So a quick search and this Facebook post comes up from Dan Barrett. Now this was the 7th of February 2020, and this was when Phillip had just come out as gay, and he's put hearts and the back as an emoji background. Very proud of Phillip today, kiss. Sending love and support to him and his family, kiss. Now, he doesn't seem shocked, does he? He doesn't seem like, oh my God, he's just come out. He obviously knew. I would say he knew. How did he know? Did Phillip tell him? Or did he know? From my opinion, looking at this, he knew. I am quite concerned now that Philip is hanging around with these boys, and that is one that's ADHD and one that's autistic. Now, there's a video on YouTube as well, and I'll show you a little bit of it, and it's where Philip and Holly introduce this lad and talk about his LGBT and his autism. But something else I want to bring up before we see that video is children on the autistic spectrum and with any sort of disability are actually classed as vulnerable until they're 25. And a lot of people don't realise this. Now, I know this because my son was diagnosed with autism, my 8-year-old son, when in January this year, in 2023. And he has been placed under a special team. And they support children up to 25, from zero, from the moment they're born, they've got any disabilities, up till 25. With college, with school, with university, and even if they don't go to any of those, they still support them, because children and young adults are seen as vulnerable and need additional support until they are 25. So therefore, if Matthew McGreevy was autistic, ADHD, which he says he is, he would still be under that vulnerable team until he was 25. As this lad here, Dan Barrett, who was 18 in 2017, he would have still been under that team, under a team that look after vulnerable, disabled, autistic children until they're 25. So people that say, oh, well, they're 18, oh, well, they're 17, oh, well, they're 16. I'm sorry, but if they're under 25 and they have this sort of disability, they're still classed as vulnerable. So this is another thing that concerns me with Philip about this. Why are they, is it a pattern that these young lads, and they're always lads, why aren't they ever females? Why are they always lads? And I find it so nefarious that it all happened when he pretended that he was straight. That's what I find the most concerning. Would the parents of these young lads been happy for their children, especially vulnerable children at 18, to be hanging around with a gay man who is as old enough to be their granddad, at least their dad, in some instances their granddad? Would they feel as comfortable? Would they feel as comfortable now they know what they know about what happened with Philip and Matthew McGreevy? That is not an alleged anymore. He admitted it. How would they feel if they knew now, if they knew then what they know now, that Philip was having inappropriate relations with a teenager? Do you see? Context matters. It really, really does. And I'm sick to death of hearing people on my channel coming in and saying, oh, well, he wanted it. That's one thing that we hear a lot of. He loves it. He wanted it. And he was 17, he was 18, it's fine. No, it's not fine. And these people who are saying this, I'm guessing they don't have children. Anyway, let's watch a little bit of this video, okay? It's just a short bit. I'm not going to be putting the link in because it's to Dan's channel, and I don't want people flooding his channel with all this stuff, okay? I'm begging people not to go to Dan. This was 6 years ago, and go asking him all these questions. I'm guessing there's going to be people who, when they watch this video, will be getting in contact with him saying, did Philip do anything inappropriate with you? I'm asking people not to do that. I won't be doing that. This lad, you know, he's got autism. He's now, what, 24? He's got autism. He's a campaigner for LGBT, and I really don't want people bothering him. If he ever wants to speak out, he will do it in his own time. So I just don't want people to be bothering this lad, okay? So I'm not going to put the link in because this is on his channel. But we'll have a quick look at the video. Here we go.
Over 700,000 people in the UK are currently living with autism.
Yes, and research shows that out of all the people who identify as LGBT, many are on the autistic spectrum.
Coming out as gay or bisexual is more challenging with learning difficulties like autism. So let's see what it's like from Dan's point of view.
At the age of 11, I was diagnosed with autistic spectrum disorder, which made my life a bit more complicated than it already was.
So there you go. That was Dan just talking very briefly. I didn't hardly show any of that video. It was done with the help of Philip and Holly. Now, I don't know what you guys make of this. It just seems to be constantly young men. Now, that could have been a woman or it could have been a girl, but it's always a young lad. Now, good on Dan for, accepting who he is. I honestly have got no issues with whoever people want to be. And he seems to me he's dealt with his autism diagnosis really, really well. He was only 11, remember, when he was diagnosed. But I do find that he's vulnerable. And why did he get in contact with Phillip Schofield out of all the people he could have got in contact with when he wanted to make this video and get support? Why was it Philip? Was he already speaking to Philip before he actually officially got in contact with him? And why is Philip on all of these Snapchat and TikTok and all these things? It just has lots and lots of questions to be asked and to be answered. There seems to be more and more of these young lads. Just doing a bit of research, there's more. I found some more names. So we'll be having a look through, documenting it all, because we know that they will try and get the internet wiped of all of these articles. There's articles going back years where he's been interviewing young lads, and again, there was no nefariousness at the time because he was a straight male. He didn't have any reason to be nefarious, hanging around with all these young boys. But if that was a straight married man and he was hanging around with all these young girls, questions would have been asked a long time ago. But it's like he had this cover. He had this cover. I'm not attracted to men. I'm straight. So why would this be nefarious? Anyway, I'm still researching. I'm still trying to find out who this person at the BBC is that's allegedly paid 35 grand for some nude photos from a teen. I've had lots and lots of messages on that one. So I don't want to put any names out there without any evidence whatsoever. So we know it's not Ryland now. That's the only person who's come out that I know of and said it's not me. So I'll keep working on that, see if we can find out who that is. And for now, I'll leave you with this. Phillip Schofield is an utter disgrace. Phillip Schofield, in my opinion, groomed Matthew and others. And I would like him to answer to Parliament. Anyway, take care, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.